It was the summer my father's hands began to tremble, though he'd still rise before dawn to tend the garden that curled along the back of our house. I was 12, barefoot and freckled, and I liked to lie in the long grass with my head tilted toward the attic windows, wondering if anyone had ever looked back out at me from behind them. The attic was locked, always. My mother said the key had been lost before I was born. She said it with a firmness that wished to end the matter, yet sometimes, while hanging laundry in the yard, I'd see her glance upward as though listening for something far away. Our days then were slow and golden. The wooden floorboards creaked in a familiar way. The air carried the smell of the earth, of tomatoes still warm from the sun, and of the faint perfume of lavender my mother pressed into cloth drawers. But that summer, the house began keeping its own strange hours. At night, I'd hear the stairs flex under a careful weight, as if someone were making an effort not to wake us. Once, while lingering in the hallway before breakfast, I could have sworn I heard a child humming somewhere above me. The melody was slow, uneven, as though whoever it was had long since forgotten the words. I didn't tell my parents. In those days, I believed silence could protect you from things you didn't understand. One afternoon in August, when the air was thick and the garden bees lay still on the petals, I saw it, the attic door, ajar. I couldn't recall ever seeing it open, and yet there it was. The brass knob turned, the gap thin, but impossible to ignore. The air beyond it was cooler than it should have been. I remember placing my hand on the doorframe and feeling a faint tremor run through the wood. The stairs leading up seemed steeper than I had imagined, wrapped in a grey shadow that didn't feel like the rest of the house. At the top, the room was cramped, sloping inwards. Dust hung like faint smoke in the dim light from the single round window. In the far corner, a small wooden chair faced the wall. Beside it, arranged in a neat little circle, were 5 glass marbles, dulled from age. When I picked one up, it was cold despite the summer heat. Far colder than glass should be. There was a faint sound then, a long breath drawn slowly, as though someone had been holding it for years. The room seemed to expand and fade at once, the dust trembling in the air. My throat tightened. In the reflection of the round window, I saw myself standing there, but not alone. The other figure was a boy about my age, though his clothes were odd, the kind I had seen only in the oldest family photographs. His hair was the exact chestnut brown of my father's, though his eyes looked tired, as if he had been awake for far too long. He didn't face me. He just stood where I stood, in the glass, his hand loosely open, as though he were holding something once, long ago. When I turned, the corner was empty. The chair waited by the wall. I slipped the marble into my pocket and ran without knowing why. That night, my father tucked me into bed and paused for a long moment, his hand resting lightly on my shoulder. "Did you go upstairs today?" he asked softly, without looking at me. I hesitated. "Yes." His fingers tightened. Then, almost to himself, he said, "You shouldn't wake him." We never spoke of it again. The attic door was found closed the next day, and though I looked often, I never saw it open on its own after that. I kept the marble hidden inside my pillowcase, afraid to lose it, afraid to return it. Years passed. My parents are long gone now, and the house has taken on that stillness that comes when no one laughs or calls out within its walls. I went back only once, one autumn when the leaves were brittle underfoot. The key my mother claimed had been lost, hung plainly on a hook beside the pantry, as if it had been there all along. I looked up at those attic windows and felt a tug inside me, the same as when I was 12. I thought for a moment of climbing those stairs just once more. But then I heard it, drifting faintly from above. A slow, uneven humming, like a song someone never finished learning. I did not go up. Only later, sorting through my father's old papers, did I find the mention in his uneven handwriting. A boy's name and a date 50 years before my birth. Lost in the summer heat, it read. He would have been 12 next year. And in the small box beneath the note, 5 glass marbles, 1 missing.